Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode is another one of those great reaction type videos because I just got this sort of weird notification just recently that I'm mentioned in another YouTube video. So I thought, okay, well, we'll check it out, let's see what it is. And so it ends up being this basic podcast like interview type thing going on, and my name gets mentioned in it. So I'm going to go over the part that got mentioned in, and basically elaborate a little more and add more input into that one little section. Okay. So again, before we begin, don't forget to go down below, click like, and click subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell because whenever I put up new videos, then you'll be notified when those new videos come out. Because again, YouTube just, there's probably something in the YouTube algorithm that's preventing them from recommending my videos and that kind of stuff. So again, make sure you get that turned on so that that way you'll know when all these new videos come out. Right? So the podcast that came out is called "The Curse of the Niche Internet Micro Celebrity." Okay, and it's done by this called the Weeb crew. Okay, and the special guest that they actually have on their particular podcast is a Kenny Lauderdale. Okay, and so I needed to check out all the links and all that kind of stuff they got on there, and like the Happy Console Gamer, he's got like thousands, okay, and the multiple hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So again, he's really big name in the internet type of thing. Much bigger than myself. So I figured, okay, let's check it out and see what what's going on here, and basically, so this is what this video is. I'll play the clip from their podcast. Do listen to it. It's a pretty interesting podcast about a particular forgotten anime, shall we say, and just in the concourse of what the the research and that kind of stuff, my name came up. All right, so I'll play the clip and then I'll comment after that and to talk more about it. I'll make another episode as I go through Kenny's lineup and with his site, and a particular interesting story came up, and I'll put that in the next episode because it's so coincidental you can't make this stuff up, right? So I'm gonna put that in the next one because it's significant enough that I need to point something out, and I even at the time I couldn't even believe that was even mentioned, and that reminded me of something else, and it's just too coincidental to make it up. Okay, so that'll be the next one, right? So stay tuned for that. So without further delay, let's begin.
That's actually a pastime we do where we'll type in anime analysis and just go to or like anime review or something and just go to the most recent videos.
No, see what you need to do is you need to you type anime into YouTube, and then you sort by views, but then you filter by today. And then you find the videos with 0 views. And if you find a single video that isn't some sort of TikTok re-upload and it's just a guy talking into the screen, that's generally some pretty good stuff.
It's probably William Chow.
Oh yeah, God bless William.
Oh
Chow.
Yeah, William Chow. God, yeah, he owned like a comic book store that sold anime, and he was like an old school fan subber. He is just a like a wealth of information, and nobody is even paying attention to him.
Yeah.
So it's right away that I get mentioned as a person that comes on the internet. And I guess it's good to know that I am one of those people that does speak on old school type of animes and that kind of stuff, and probably one of the foremost people to talk about things like the stuff previous to the digital fan subbing era. Back to the some fan subbing onto VHS tapes kind of thing. It's great to be known as the person that can be gone to, and it's good. Like I said, I'm flattered that my name comes up when that topic hits the mind. It's great. I'm still very new at this YouTube thing, even though I've got 250 episodes worth of stuff, and I remember when I first made started this thing, I knew that before I could start getting people to come to my come to my YouTube channel and to look and look for videos and that kind of stuff, I knew one of the first things I needed to have was content, because again, you don't want to start, blasting out on all your social media and that kind of stuff to go, hey, come check out my site or check out my YouTube channel, and there's only like 10 videos for the people to watch. So I mean, they binge you for like an hour, and then it's like, okay, well, I've seen everything that you've done, and and then you don't post anything for like years, and then that doesn't help, right? So I wanted to make sure I had an inventory, enough content to keep someone, or at least have someone have to have a reason to subscribe to me. So I'm still feeling that I'm still in that category, because there's still so much more for anime to do. So I'll get my due. Yeah, that's it.
Well, generally, like the way that I see it, if somebody is passionate about something and they're talking to the void of YouTube and they're reaching no audience, but they're still doing it, then they probably genuinely care about what they're doing. And he just seems like one of those people that's been into anime forever and really loves what he does. So yeah, I'm definitely subscribed to that guy.
Kenny talks on the topic really well, actually, and the fact that here I am doing videos and that kind of stuff on YouTube, and I said the plan or the idea that I had when I was making these videos is the fact that I wanted them to be more informative. Okay, I wanted the information to be the content, the primary source of why someone would come and watch my videos is to get the information. Not to be. I didn't want to be the the entertainment, right? Because I mean, I at the time when I was making the videos, and one of the things I remember seeing about anime reviewers and that kind of stuff at that time is a lot of them were adding their shtick, if you will. Okay, they're trying to be they're cosplaying it, they're trying to act out stuff, they're hamming it up, they're throwing in jokes and everything else like that, and I get it. I mean, sure, that that'll probably get you the views, and that'll get you your audience, and that's sort of your thing. Okay, great. But eventually, what's going to happen is that when you get to for example, 250 episodes and that kind of stuff, and you don't come up with new shtick, if you will, right? If you keep using the same gag or the same costume or same whatever all the time, and even using stuff that recycling stuff that doesn't because you can't think of anything else new, then it's just gonna get old, right? So and I don't want to let you guys down in such a way that you're getting repetitious information, repetitious like faux acting, if you will, or the same gag over and over again, just same gag but different anime kind of thing, right? I didn't want that to occur, because I think what's important, what's more important, is I want the information to be the draw, as most documentaries should be. Like when you watch, let's say, a war documentary or something like that, I think that the facts, the history, and that kind of stuff will tell itself. Like, I mean, it'll tell its own story. It has its own story, and the story of that is probably more important, right? Not the person narrating it, and it's not the it's not the personality of the person to bring out the story, the facts, and the footage and that kind of stuff in a documentary. So and I get it, and he makes the mention that the method may be dry, but I think that's sort of my mentality is that because of the era that we grew up in and did all these things, and it was always the anime that was what people wanted, right? We were always after the anime for what it was. Okay, I think ever since when the digital fan subbing era came in, that kind of stuff, and even this new era of cosplay and that kind of stuff, it no longer seemed like the anime was the thing that everyone wanted. Okay, or I should probably reword that. Anime started becoming the vehicle. People who were working on digital fan subs were using the anime to insert their own works into it. Like, they're adding their own typesetting. They're adding all these weird random fonts and trying to title everything in the screen. It became a competition about all the fancy stuff that you could do with digital fan subbing and that kind of stuff. And it became a showcase of what you could do, rather than just saying, hey, we're not here to see your fan subbing. We're not here to see your typesetting or your karaoke works and that kind of stuff. We want to see the anime. And, we got away from that, right? And same thing with now, all these other sort of micro sort of things that go on with anime. For example, cosplay, right? A whole, literally, it's an industry now, where that people are using the anime as the vehicle to promote themselves, right? I mean, sure, you got into this anime sort of, as a hobby or whatever, but then you realize, okay, hey, if I make really good costumes and make lots of provocative pictures of myself, and I can self-promote using anime as the vehicle, then that somehow became a thing, right? So, there's probably lots of endless cases of people showing off and showcasing their abilities, shall we say, and examples of what they can do. Whether or not that's part of their job or whatever, no, that's promoting themselves, right? And I think that's one of the things that cropped up, in the modern sort of way that we now consume anime, is that it's not just about what the anime, the story, the manga, what we see on the screen. It's what we can do with it. And so one of the things when I was doing my episodes, I did not want to do that, okay? Because I said that I think that sort of thing would detract from my message, right? Because if I'm trying to if I'm trying to do a review or something, or trying to to present animes, or trying to paint a proper picture of what the scene or the scenario would be, if I'm hamming it up with jokes and putting interruptions into that kind of into the flow, into the stream, people will then maybe start figuring out, well, what was that piece of information a joke, or was that irrelevant, or was that just an exaggeration? I'm confusing the viewer with things like with stuff that shouldn't be in something that's documentarily or trying to be factual, or trying to be trying to be accurately trying to paint or describe a particular setting or a particular situation. Sure, I can maybe come up with some better analogies. I can come up with some more exciting stories or whatever. I can kind of over exaggerate and do as a sort of an analogy type thing. But in the end, I still have to try to portray the the thing as accurate as I can, without trying to basically make it more about me or that. And yeah, I may come across being, I said, dry, because I said I'll be able to get into that example later, but that was something I knew that was a possibility that was going to happen. But I think the more important thing was the information, and so that's why I'm trying to build a catalog, as you say, a resource, maybe it's probably another word, of the information, rather than kind of like an episodic, comedy, if you will, or the gag of the week or something thing. So that I wanted to make sure that I wanted to follow that. And again, all the subscribers that appreciate that, I thank you very much, because I understand how hard it is. And it said it was never really about the views or that kind of stuff. It's just about more that that there is this other era that most of us are not in. Okay, I mean everything from let's say the 90s and the 2000s, where a lot of the people that are in the YouTube demographic are in, never experienced or never know or realized what it was like before their era. I mean, obviously, a lot of us grew up with anime, more so than others, and especially when I started getting into the anime. You guys probably grew up with anime already at your doorstep, and trying to find accurate information, trying to find people who even want to talk about this particular topic of what did we have before. There's not many of us left, right? I mean, there's less and less of us left as time goes on. And again, I really wanted to just make sure I get my story out there, and get that information out there. Just try to show you as much as I can from this era, because like I said, I've got a lot of stuff that like I said, because I mean, even if you find someone who was in from my era, if they didn't wasn't heavily invested into the anime, maybe they just was a light type tape trader, or just couldn't, maybe they were a college student at the time when VHS tape trading was done. Maybe they didn't have the resources or the money or the time to really get into the anime and that kind of stuff, and get the inventory, as it were, at that time. It's still very hard to do. So I think I'm in a very unique situation, where I can now, as I said, use this medium to share what I have, what I know, with you, so that I can, this will help really paint a better picture, and really document what really happens during this time. And it's not all just kind of speculation. He said this or he said that. I want to actually come up with actual pictures, videos, documentation, letters, anything like that. And that's my style of video. A lot of show and tell, a lot of telling, and building the story, building the picture, and then hopefully as you get into more of my videos and that kind of stuff, you'll start putting the pieces together and start seeing how things link together, and you're getting a fuller picture of how it must have been like to live in this kind of environment. And I thank you for that.
Yeah, a lot of his videos are just like show and tell, because he just has so much stuff. It's insane.
Oh yeah, he did a whole video where he's like, and here's all my hentai doujinshi. It's like,
Yeah,
let's take a
it's
look
like
at those. I'm just like, well, I guess I can't do a video about that, but I'm glad that he's doing it.
I only wish he had the means to hire an editor or something. Like, I like the almost campy old school feel of his videos to a degree, but sometimes
but it's to his detriment. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if he just had a little bit better production, I think he could take off pretty decently.
All of his videos have white noise in them and stuff. Which, I don't know. I think I kind of like that at that point, because it's like, all right, yeah, this is just ASMR. Fuck it.
Yeah, so his videos are a little bit bland, but they're informative. So,
Yeah.
People like us, we care, because he actually has info that you cannot find anywhere else.
Yeah.
However, those types of videos, they're just not entertaining, and that's the problem that I had with the Majo Demo Steady situation. I was like, well, I can look into the minutia of every single person that worked on this anime and try to give this some legitimacy, but
Okay, so so as I just touched up on there, I mean, I'm still at that. I still feel, I mean, even though these many episodes out, I still feel that I'm still one of these new people in the YouTube in the YouTube scene, shall we say. And I haven't worked up from using the eyesight camera that's on the Mac, and haven't moved up from using cell phones as my camera, and haven't moved up and got an actual proper mic and things like this, and again, I'm sure as I get the views, and I'm as I get the views number going up, and and then this actually becomes something where I can actually replace my mic and replace my camera and and that's it. And even get to the point where I can get an editor, and sure. But as many episodes I've done, as long as I've been doing this, I still don't feel that I'm past that point yet. And yeah, and I guess it sort of reflects and it shows in the the production value of the video, right? Of my videos and that kind of stuff. But again, it's not about how flashy it is, not how how many graphics and stuff that I can get into the screen and that kind of stuff. Because again, the important part is the information, right? And that's always been my goal is the information is what you guys want, not the the production, the scenery, that kind of stuff like that. Because I think you guys can look through that. Maybe the rest of YouTube can't, but I know the people that are still here and watching this and listening to this. That's what you're here for. You're here for the information. And so the topic of this podcast that they were talking about was this anime called Majo Demo Steady. Okay, and so I may as well comment about about that, because that's what the whole thing was and how it was portrayed at the time. Okay, the anime did not really. Let's just put it like usually when when you go to the anime magazines and that kind of stuff, we're combing through the different anime magazines and that kind of stuff. And the key anime magazine that this would have been in would have been Anime V, right? Because it's an OAVA. Yeah, I'm sure it might have a little exposure in an Animedia or a new type magazine, but most likely it will have the most coverage in an Anime V magazine. But it didn't. Okay, there's no sub article. There's no here's that because as the video as just the research as you found is that it was a very small one-shot company. So obviously it wouldn't have paid any money to these magazines to promo it, to put it out. So it would have got absolutely no advertising exposure or anything at all. Okay, now the cover of the Laserdisc, okay, is something that I do remember, and I think that's part of the story, is that early in my career, or like in the the concourse of this anime happening, was basically the best way I sort of remember it, okay, is I remember seeing the Laserdisc cover, okay, and it probably was the most colorful, most very artistic sort of a drawing, okay, that you see. And what it really reminds me of, actually, if you in terms of imagery, was and how it caught me was, this reminds me of second ending theme song for Orange Road, okay, where all the pictures were drawn in chalk, okay, and this really kind of reminds me of one of those pictures of side profile view of Madoka, drawn in chalk with all the different pictures, right? So initially I thought, well, that's kind of a a Madoka like looking like anime and that kind of stuff, and at that time I just saw it, and I had a curiosity about it, so I did the usual thing. Got the information for it, and it kind of said, sure, I'll try to get it in, right? And the problem I think at that time is that twofold, right? At that time I was I guess past the point where I was getting a lot of videos and that kind of stuff from the CFO and viewer and people like that and whatnot, okay? Because that was a big trading time, right? Is that people were collecting animes and that kind of stuff, and we're trading them from different people from on VHS and that kind of stuff, right? So if it wasn't a really big title and that kind of stuff, then it wasn't really traded around a lot. And the problem is that not very many people would have had this video, okay? Because obviously it was very difficult in terms of getting, well, obviously spotted, right? No one really knew what it was, and it wasn't released by a major company. It wasn't in the magazines, so it was really difficult to to even have a place that would have it, let alone someone that had a copy of it, that could make a copy of it, and therefore it showed up on that. So again, I quickly looked on, just when I was doing this episode, I quickly looked on a bunch of my fan traders tapes and that kind of stuff to see what their tape lists look like, and see if how this if any of them had titles like this particular title. I remembered it as as I remember at the time, I don't believe anyone labeled it as Majo Demo Steady. My steady is my steady is a witch, right? I think what it came up as is something like my girlfriend's a witch, okay? Like i.e. the kind of like I dream of Jeannie kind of idea, right? It's kind of an offshoot of that type of a thing. And I sort of vaguely remember it as like one or two people might have had it written like that. But again, it never really proliferated, and that was one of the big downfalls at this particular time, is that if no one really had it, or if one particular person had but he had a lot of other animes, the other animes would have been the higher priority, and everyone would always trade that kind of a thing, and more so than these real obscure titles, obviously, right? And I think at that time my collection probably would have been fairly big, okay, and I had a fairly large collection of really not just obscure titles, but like titles that of a bigger note, right? That people was really interested in getting, because I said I talked about some of the videos where I went to the Japanese video rental store, and I got a bunch of these tapes and that kind of stuff from them of not really popular like not really big popular name movies. The ones that just really come to mind right away are things like 2001, space Odyssey type of story, Starship Troopers, Kizunoi B2, TWD Express, things like this. Like these would be videos that weren't really big on a lot of people's lists. A lot of people don't know what they were. But I had a bunch of these things, but at the same time, I had a bunch of other stuff that was probably even bigger and more important at that time. So people would always ask for those, Wings of Animeas, Macross, the movie, for example, things like that. That was more important for them to get a copy of that, because everyone's talking about that and they wanted to get that. So again, it was the limitation of trading, right? So I never ever got a copy of that, probably because of that. Like, I mean, even maybe that one person who had it, maybe I only traded a bunch of times with him, and I never got that. This title never came up, and therefore I never got a copy of it. I do remember the cover though, and that was because a little time later, when I got when I started getting lots of fan subs going and that kind of stuff, and one of the big things I mentioned in one of my episodes is I bought the Laserdisc catalog. Okay, it's a big freaking telephone book sized basically publication. Okay, it's not very expensive actually for what it was. Because I think it's like 3,000 yen, which is like $30 US at the time. Worked out about $60 Canadian by the time we actually got it. But I mean, this publication literally is like a freaking telephone book in size, and it contains literally every CD and every Laserdisc and thing that was available. And I say again, even in black and white, I remember seeing this image. And I thought, okay, hey, this, very, very, kind of looks kind of like Madoka and that sort of, weird sort of, that chalk like, So I'll give it a shot, right? And so I probably remember, would have taken down this title and put it onto an order list with Iwase bookstore or something like that. But I, never ever got this laser skin. So it probably means that the company, the Iwase bookstore, the chain or whatever, could not get a hold of this laserdisc at the time that I finally got around to ordering it and whatnot, or when this catalog came out. It was, I guess, sufficiently old enough, or because by the time I started buying these catalogs, it was like 94, 95, I think, or whatever. And I'm thinking this anime came out in like 80, 88 or something, 87. So already this thing is old. It's probably sold out, gone, discontinued, whatever, clearance, and it was not. The bookstore chain could not get a copy of this to send me. So again, I sort of came across to the point where I missed my first opportunity to get it through VHS trading days, and then once the fan subbing days started, I missed my opportunity to get it as a laserdisc, and then I never went back to it afterwards, because even when I got got up to the 2004 or whatever, when I stopped fan subbing stuff, I never went back to going looking for laserdiscs that I never ended up getting, or wish I got that or whatever, because I thought at the time we were gonna I was gonna, someone else will work on it, someone else will do it, and sure enough, here we are talking 2022, someone did it. Maybe thanks to Kenny, right? Because he talked about it. Someone actually went around and actually, did it. And I think, even as I'm going through the, doing the my anime lists, and actually, kind of painting the picture of what the industry was like, and how, and even though, we look at the anime lists and it says all this anime came out, and if you looked at all the anime magazines, sure, you can say all this cool anime in the book at this time came out. That doesn't mean that we can get this anime in North America at that time. It doesn't mean that just because the latest episode of Sonic Soldier Borgman was out, we still had to get. For example, in that sort of case, we had to wait until the lasers for Borgman came out so that I can put in an order for it and to get it ordered in and whatnot, right? So and that might be several months later, right? Because usually the difference between releasing a lasers box set or whatever, you had to wait until the series was over before the lasers box set came out, right? So and after a certain amount of time, if you didn't order that lasers box set in time, then it's just going to discontinue and you can't get it anymore. And again, and it wasn't until like late into the 95, 97, 90, probably 97, and maybe even later than that, before even like things like Yahoo auctions and Yahoo Japan and that kind of stuff really kind of kicked in and made this stuff somewhat available. But by then, the fan subbing era kind of really took over. And all this new all the newer and better animes came out with fan subs and with subs and dubs and that kind of stuff at this time. So again, there's this. There are better and more important animes out that so those took the stage, and all these these kind of lower animes that no one really cared about, or lost animes and that kind of stuff, basically became lost animes because. So many choices are better, and in many ways, I'm very happy that I'm able to go back now and look at all the work that other people have done on things like, for example, Borgman. That's one of the series that I always thought it was funny that they commercially released Lover's Rain, like the OEVA, but they never even bothered doing the rest of the series. I mean, come on, guys, it's like let's stop being so lazy. And so I was able to finally get all that. I was finally able to go back and watch all of Sakigate Otojuku, because I remember watching that show even with no fan subs or anything like that. And I thought it was just hilarious. And of course that song. And so finally it's great that I was able to find all the episodes of Sakigate Otojuku just recently and was able to watch the entire series and actually finally understand what's going on there. So it's an absolute delight, some of these animes, and it's great that I'm going back to watch this stuff, because as I said, I don't want to get ahead of myself and before I get to the animes that are currently released, because maybe I'll be quite disappointed at some of the stuff that's coming out now. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise. All right, so I hope you found that interesting. I realize, as a video, this is obviously not very, visually exciting, because obviously this is what was originally made to be a podcast. So this is just my reaction to a podcast. But if you are listening to this at work and really basically absorbing it like a podcast, that's great. Okay, maybe I'll add this this topic on an Audible or something, or something silly like that. But yeah, so. Again, I'll be making another episode in regards to the stuff that I found on Kenny's website, particularly a special anime that I even just made a mention of, just because I was just doing my anime list episode, and I just sort of mentioned this episode, this anime, and again, it's all one of the ones that was on his site that he made a mention to, and I'll just tie it all together here. But I won't do it here, because this episode's already getting too long. All right, so we'll do it next one. Okay, so until next time, I will see you again.